Hello, in this video we're going to talk about frequency distributions. So we are given some data, and the data is given right up here in this chart. We can click on this little icon and it will load the data. At the far right of this data table there is another icon to click on, and this will either open the data in Statcrunch or Excel or put it in a clipboard. So I'm going to work this in Statcrunch. Okay, so I'm just going to move my screen around a little bit so you can see all the buttons available. The data has been loaded in Statcrunch. I'm going to click on Graph, click on Histogram, Variable 1. That's the column where the data has been loaded into. We want to do a relative frequency diagram. I'm going to leave blank the start at option, but I am going to put a width of 4 in there, and the reason I chose that is because those were some of the choices in our multiple choice question. But in general, you can play around with the width to see what makes sense for the type of data you have, and so that's something that you might be 4 for one question, might be 10 for a different, depends on the data set that you have. Okay, so I am going to now click on Compute. Okay, so here's our histogram, and we can get a really nice visualization of this histogram here. We can see it starts off low and kind of has a peak, and then down it goes and gets a little bit high again at the end. We notice that the very left-hand endpoint there is 55, so that automatically rules out the first choice in our answer set because that puts 55 as the midpoint, and that's definitely not what's going on in our data set. And if we look at the shapes of some of these others, well, this has the right shape over here, the second choice, but again, the midpoint there is 59, and that doesn't quite look like our data set. So I'm going to choose answer choice C. The next task, we're asked to analyze the data. It says if you put in $7,450 into the ATM each day, what percent of the days of the month will you expect to run out of cash? All right, so for this question, I'm going to look at a different histogram. So I'm going to go histogram, and again, variable 1. This time, I'm going to do a relative frequency diagram. Actually, I'm going to do a frequency diagram, and the width I'm going to put in here is 1. And move all this, compute, and here's the diagram that I get. And so if I put in $7,450, notice that all these days up here where people are withdrawing lots of cash, my customers are going to be very unhappy because there's not enough cash in that ATM. So let's see, how many days did people withdraw more than $7,450? All right, so let's see, $7,400, that had a frequency of 1. So customers are happy there because they can get out the 7,400. But as soon as I get up into the customer range of 7,500, let's see, I've got one customer there, another one, 3, 4, 5. So there are 5 different days where my customers are going to be unhappy. And so if we look at a calculation, 5 divided by 30 days that we sampled, this is about 0.166 repeating, and we want to round to the nearest tenth as needed. All right, so as a percent, this would be 16.7%. And then lastly, it says if you're willing to run out of cash for 10% of the days, how much cash should you put into the ATM each day? All right, well, let's see. 10% is 0.10. 10% of 30 days, that would put us at 3 days. So we're willing to run out of cash on 3 days. Looking at our frequency diagram here, we've got 1, 2, 3 days. So there's going to be 3 days where people are withdrawing $8,000 or more.